Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Mr. Hicks Podcast. We are here getting it in once again, time and time again. So, second week, technically the second week, really week one, but not everybody played week 0. So this is really the first week of college football. So I'm going to do a series with I like to call "You Ain't Really Win." Like you won, but truth be told, like we learned more about your weaknesses than anything else. Even if you got a W, it wasn't very much a W. It was very hard to win and have your fans actually feel not so great about your team after a win. But these teams did it, and we're going to talk about it. So the first one was really obvious. So let's go with North Carolina versus App State. North Carolina wins this game 63-61. First of all, you say, like, Tone, can't believe that North Carolina gave up 61 points to Appalachian State. That's wild. I really thought we was going to get like the same type of deal when App State went in and beat Michigan about 15 years ago. But here's the crazy thing. App State scored 40 points in the fourth quarter. For those of you who did not see that game, that is absolutely amazing. But App State's quarterback is a real deal. I hope that dude gets a shot at the league. I really do. But like North Carolina, how can your defense be this bad? So basically, like FAMU and App State put up points on you, and you haven't even entered ACC play. Bro, you got problems. You got problems in situations. And I'm a big believer, and I believe that Mac Brown and Jimbo Fisher have gotten a lot of credit for having won a national championship, but not for the team they're currently coaching. So I can understand why that gets you the job. I do not understand why it gets you so much leverage because you have won a national championship. Bro, you didn't win that championship with us. So I wouldn't go walking around like that's like you got steel britches on or something. That's not really going to save you from keeping your job. I believe that North Carolina job, that recruiting area is really untapped. It's amazing how people come in there and take all the kids out of North Carolina. A really good coach, you get somebody like a Urban Meyer to come in there and really turn things around. And I'm really disappointed in what I thought was going to be a good North Carolina team. They are showing right now that they ain't going to be putting up a bunch of fuss about anything. Let's move on to Penn State-Purdue. Penn State barely wins against Purdue, 35-31. So is Purdue good or is Penn State kind of Penn State? And here's my thing about Penn State. I believe that James Franklin has the greatest marketing and campaign I've ever seen. Every time a job comes open, his name seems to come up. Like it was like, oh, he might go to USC. He might go to USC. He has no ties to USC whatsoever. He's never coached there. He's not from the West Coast. Nobody that was there worked with him in the past in the front office. I mean, like nothing. I have no idea why people were saying that he was going to go there. And then he managed to parlay a extension with Penn State because they were afraid they were going to lose him, I guess. I think they had like a 5-7 season. And then you look now and it's like, Purdue damn near got you? Bro, I mean, like, let me give you an example. Like, they can't run the ball. There was questions about their offensive line last year, and I saw nothing in this game to make me feel better about their offensive line. They averaged less than 3.5 yards a carry against Purdue. So what's going to happen when you got to play Michigan, when you got to play Penn State, when you got to play Michigan State, when you got to play Ohio State? It's not a good look, and I really don't understand how when your quarterback, who everybody actually figure like dude is a bus driver, he's not a fighter pilot. This is not great, but Clifford actually played pretty decently and threw three touchdown passes. Can't really blame him. Defense, not so much, and running game, absolutely not. NC State versus East Carolina. This one in the UNC North Carolina game, I hope y'all understand, there's a lot of colleges in North Carolina. So the fact that y'all be messing around and not handling your business, playing in-state teams, what are you doing? Like, okay, so North Carolina State beats East Carolina 21-20. Not North Carolina, East Carolina. What are you doing? NC State. I mean, first of all, shout out to Devin Leary, who still managed to have a pretty good game. I don't have the stats up in front of me right now, but he was not the reason why they fell, or why they faltered. By the way, East Carolina almost tied this game. They missed an extra point. And North Carolina State gave up 383 yards of offense. I mean, like that's an awful lot to give up to an East Carolina team that basically you invite to your school in order to win your home opener and pay them for the privilege. And you almost lost that game, so good for you. Iowa, woo! Iowa versus North Dakota State. Iowa wins this game 7-3 against North Dakota. That's not a joke. Big Sky is taking no losses. I mean, they took a loss today, but this Big Sky put up a fight everywhere they had games. Pretty much, it was like, yeah, we ain't backing down from nobody. I'm telling you, these G5s. The difference between a top G5 in a middle of the road to lower tier Power 5 is getting very, very, like, matter of fact, I would probably say the G5s are probably better coached. When you know that you're not getting 4-star players and you just got to coach them up. I believe you got a different mentality at the G5 level. Most of those guys are not going to go to the league early, and you had a lot of 5th and now 6th-year seniors on those teams. You play them week 1 or week 2, your depth isn't going to be an issue. They're going to have a lot of experience. They're going to have been in the weight room for 5 years. They're going to give you some business. So I'm like, Iowa only had 166 total yards of offense in this game. Woo. Okay, Oklahoma State, 58-44 to Central Michigan. Good for you on scoring 58 points, but it was on Central Michigan. And the fact that you gave up 44 yards to said Central Michigan, mean to tell me that defensive coordinator that you lost to Ohio State meant a little bit more to you than maybe you wanted to admit. And so last but not least, let's talk about Ohio State versus Notre Dame. First of all, let me give Notre Dame some credit. I really thought they were going to get blown out in this game. However, Notre Dame showed a lot of resilience on defense. They basically told you that they throw the ball. We're going to make you throw the ball. And I was really shocked when you've got Ohio State really was not able to run the ball the way that I thought they were going to. Even though Travion Henderson had 15 carries for 91 yards, which is fine, but I mean, he's an all-world running back. Honestly, for Notre Dame to hold him to 91 points, that might be one of the lower running totals he has for the whole year. And from what I understand, I'm not an expert at such things, but I will tell you this: I've heard from multiple sources that Notre Dame threw so many different looks at that secondary. A secondary is still very young. It's talented, don't get me wrong, but there's not a lot of starts there. If you look at Egbuka and Marvin Harrison Jr., what's his name? Jackson Smith and Jigba went out early in this game. So he hit the concussion, and it just seemed like this offense was out of sorts. Like C.J. Stroud didn't have a bad game statistically. Threw 2 touchdown passes. I think it was 24 of 34. Doesn't look terrible, but when you actually watch the game, you can see that everything looked kind of out of sync, and I was really surprised by that. So we're gonna have to see a few more games before we realize like, is Notre Dame a lot better than we thought they were? So like, that's amazing competition. I still think that Ohio State defense, who knows? It's one thing that I just haven't seen enough of Notre Dame to know which one is really the problem here. I mean, I know I'm talking about Ohio State like they lost. They didn't lose. They just did not win in the fashion that I thought they were going to, and I'm actually pretty surprised by it. So I think this is going to make a lot of people pump the brakes on what they thought was going to be a dominant Ohio State team this year. So I would definitely have Georgia 1 and Alabama 2, and I would drop Ohio State down to 3, and I would drop Clemson somewhere down in the 45. I just am so disappointed with their performance versus Georgia Tech. Even though they won that game, you were supposed to win that game. And then for you to, like, honestly, for Georgia Tech to be hanging around middle of the third quarter just speaks a lot about what your quarterback is not, what your offensive weapons on the outside are not, what your offensive line is not. So Clemson, hope they get it together. I love Dabo Swinney. I love what he's trying to do as a program. But quite honestly, I think the ACC is completely up for grabs. North Carolina State is not what they look like. What I thought they were going to be. University of North Carolina has the defense of a JV Pop Warner team. And by the way, Wake Forest quarterback Hartman looks like he is going to play this week. So good for him and good for Wake Forest. It was very respectable. Pitt didn't look like the world beaters that I'm not saying I thought they were going to be world beaters, but they did win the conference last year. So ACC is wide open, and these teams won some games, but, I still don't feel great about it. And I don't think the fans feel great about it either. That's my time. Take it easy.